Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston. He is your host, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, we were together again to watch this game. We were 2-0 going into this game when we watched them together. Unfortunately, we did not let the magic roll over into this game. Kentucky loses to Vanderbilt as they storm the court afterwards, 74-69, and was probably Kentucky's ugliest loss to date. Maybe the Ohio State game's up there as well. We got back into it in the second half, but man, that first half deficit was just a little bit too much to overcome.
Yeah, definitely. I would easily say that this was the worst game of the season from the Cats. All the other losses, I felt like, maybe we just didn't play well, shot poorly, this and that. This one, I felt like, especially in the first half, it was an extreme lack of effort, and that was, I think, the most frustrating part. We'll obviously really dive into it, but, just no energy for a conference game on a Saturday. It's unacceptable, and outside of the first 10 minutes of the second half, this team played horrible and had little to no effort.
Yeah, the first 12 minutes of the first half was really the only time where it looked like this team was into the game and were playing well, and they took that 14-point deficit that they had at halftime and found their way up 7, which at that point, I think you and I kind of looked at each other. We kind of thought the game was over at that point. 21-point swing in a game like that where you looked like you were playing really bad, turning the ball over, sloppy play the entire game. I think at that point, you and I both kind of thought, okay, the Cats are back in this. This game is ours. We're going to find a way to win this one on the road. And then more turnovers down the stretch just never materialized.
Yeah, I looked at you at halftime and I went back and live bet Kentucky because I just didn't think the effort would stay as low as it was in the first half. And, to their credit, they came out and, that first 10 minutes of that second half was really good basketball. We had, 27 points at halftime. 8 minutes to go in the game, we had 58 points. So in 12 minutes, they scored 31 points. And we're looking like just a whole different team. And then, to your point, just didn't execute down the stretch. A lot of really bad turnovers, a lot of really bad play out of Lamont Butler, or a catalyst of other guys will go through and, say that just didn't have their game. But, Lamont was the one that stood out. And it's pretty obvious he's, maybe more banged up than, we kind of knew. He's already out for tomorrow's game. But, yeah, the last two games he's been really, really bad. And Saturday was probably as bad as a point guard performance as we've seen in some time.
Yeah, and of course, I talked and gave my kind of opinions on Lamont Butler's play as of recent in the last podcast. Obviously, didn't really help his case here in this game against Vanderbilt. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the bigger numbers for the Cats as a team in this game. Shot 48% from the field, 39% from three, and out-rebounded Vandy 43-30. I think normally if you look at that, just those posterior numbers in this game, you'd think Kentucky wins this game and probably wins it pretty easily. But, man, really those 17 turnovers is really what put the nail in the coffin for the Commodores to win this game.
Absolutely. That was actually the point I was about to make. If I told you we came out, shot a better percentage from the field, better percentage from three, out-rebounded Vandy by double digits, and held them to 74 points, you're probably thinking the game goes more so how we predicted it earlier in the week. You think Kentucky wins by 18-25. And, to your point, Vandy just forcing the turnovers, causing the havoc, and winning every single 50-50 ball. There were no 50-50 balls on Saturday. Every ball it felt like was 90-10. Vandy just, to their credit, wanted it more. And what's even more crazy is to start the game, Vandy, I felt like, was kind of playing at our pace. They were getting up and down. They weren't holding the ball down to the end of the shot clock. Like they were making a lot of threes, but they were jacking them at a quick rate. And, Jackson made a couple big ones in the first half. But the biggest stretch of the game, obviously, was Jackson Robinson makes a three at 8 minutes and 56 seconds left to put the Cats up 22-21. At halftime, it's 41-27.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last almost 9 minutes, the Cats score 5 points and I think only one field goal. 3 of those points came from the free throw line. Like it's unacceptable. And for a team that relies so much on the offense, like you can't have 9-minute stretches where you're making a field goal.
Yeah, I mean that stretch ended up being the one that lost Kentucky the game. It was a 21-4 run to end the half, where we just kept turning the ball over. It seemed like almost every possession. I mean, we were getting bad shots during that time too. And really, I mean, Vandy didn't play all that well offensively.
Yeah.
44% from the field, 36% from three. They did get up a lot more threes than us. They shot 33 of them. We're able to knock down 12 of them. I mean, they shot 36% from the line. And I know, you and I were kind of talking about it. The game first half was going by so fast. There wasn't a
Yeah.
foul call for the first 12 minutes of this game. I mean, I kind of liked the pace of play. I thought it was going to benefit the Cats in this one. Just really never materialized until that stretch in the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, I mean that's another part of it, right? If you tell me that Kentucky outshoots them percentage wise, out rebounds them, holds Vandy to 70 something, and then like your main players aren't in foul trouble, like it's the other thing. The refs were letting them play. I didn't feel like it got away from either team. It wasn't an overly physical game, and you still find a way to score under 70 points. Like everything on paper tells you that this should have been a game where the Cats were easily in the 90s.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like, we had brought that up on the last game. You look at the numbers, like against Bama, we shot almost 50, 40, and 80 from the field, three, and from the free throw line. Seems like two games that were very winnable for the Cats, just haven't gone their way. Back-to-back losses for the first time this season, 3-3 to start SEC play. Are you starting to get a little worried about this team? Did we maybe outstretch what we thought earlier in the year when we saw them beat Gonzaga and Duke?
I mean, I'm not worried from the perspective of like I still think this is a good team, and it's not like I'm worried in a sense of like they're not going to make the tournament. But as we talked about before conference play even started, like this conference is brutal. Like, these are the kind of games you got to win. I'm not saying Vandy's a bad team. They very well could be a tournament team by the end of the year. But like you lose that one and then you're like, well, where are the wins coming from? Tuesday you go to Tennessee. You got Cal coming in here on Saturday, and then you're at Ole Miss, and then you play Tennessee again. You go to Texas, at Bama, Auburn at home. Like, so at some point, like you do got to get some wins, and there's a lot of really tough games still to come. I mean, if you lose tomorrow, and I think we'll probably both predict losses, like you're under 500 in the SEC, and that's not something I foresaw 7 games in.
Yeah, neither did I. I mean, we've talked about how much of a challenge this SEC is going to be. Just the new AP rankings today, there's 10 SEC teams in the top 25, which is just insane. You're talking about only 6 teams not being ranked, and one of them being, Calipari and Arkansas, who still has a good enough talent to maybe, right the ship if, the effort's there from the coaching staff. But, diving back into a little bit more of this Vandy game, obviously no Andrew Carr for this one, so we got to see a little bit of a lineup change. Saw some weird lineups in this one. Some
Yeah,
ones,
we did.
you and I really didn't agree with. Looked like Coach Pope was trying things, seeing what was going to work and what wasn't. Got some good minutes from guys. Other guys, kind of just showed they're not ready to play. But I thought Ansley Almanor, we'll kind of start with him as we go into our player-by-player analysis here. I thought Ansley gave you another good game. 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 or 5 from 3. And, I mean, he just keeps, you had mentioned it a little bit earlier, we weren't sure how he was going to play in SEC play when it came to it. I think he's probably been, outside of Otega Owe, our most consistent, reliable guy since SEC play has started.
Yeah, I do think obviously like this team missed Carr on Saturday, but that's not because of what Almador gave you. If Carr was even remotely healthy, you could probably split those guys pretty evenly 50-50 and play them both right about 20 minutes. But yeah, I thought Almador again was huge. 12 points, 4 rebounds. There were some times I think he got beat on defense, but 4 or 5 from 3. Like I think he gave you everything you kind of needed from him, and I thought he played really well. I was impressed with Ansley.
Yeah, I've been impressed with the team ever since the start of SEC play. I mean, 80% from the three-point line in the game. Obviously, we're going to take that, 10 times out of 10. And to give you 4 rebounds, we talked about Andrew Carr's almost inability to rebound. It's kind of that same number that he was giving you as of late, especially with that back injury kind of ramping up and kind of zapping a little bit of the limited athleticism that he does have. Switching over to Amari Williams in this game, 6 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 of 4 from the 2 of 4 from the line and 2 of 4 from the field. Only played 23 minutes in this game. I thought Amari did play well. He had 2 block shots in this game too. But man, I do feel like he needed to get more rebounds in this game. Really only 5 in 22 minutes. I expect more from him. Luckily, we got a big rebound number from Ortega to help out. I thought Amari played well in this game, but it wasn't a game where he dominated like I want him to.
Yeah, this is going to be one where me and you disagree a little bit. I've thought Amari's played really well in SEC play. He's played better than I thought he did earlier in the year. I thought he reverted back to a lot of what we saw in some of the non-conference here. Obviously, the stat line's not killer by any means, 6, 5, and 4, but I just felt like there was just multiple times where he's got his hands down at his side, not defending a shot. There were some rebounds that felt like he should have grabbed, and he's just letting I didn't love the effort. I mean, he made some plays, but I just felt like overall the effort wasn't what this team needed from Amari on Saturday.
Yeah, to a certain extent I agree, but how we had talked. I mean, the entire team didn't show up for the entire first half of this game.
I agree.
We'll have to put that on every single player in this game. I mean, really, other than maybe Trent Noah, I think might be the only guy who gave you consistent effort in the minutes that he was in there. But, I mean, Amari, I get people see, he's a 7-footer and sometimes he has his hands down. I mean, the guy still did have 2 block shots in this game. He's still a force around the interior. I do think Amari kind of gets a bad light from just general fans because I'm really not sure. He's kind of he's outside of Jackson Robinson. He's probably the most critiqued guy on this team, game in and game out. And that's probably because we do see the athleticism and the ability to, change the game on the defensive end and through rebounds. I thought Amari played well in this game. Obviously, it wasn't his best. I mean, he was one of the only 2 guys on the team that was in the plus-minus, +5, the biggest on the night. Obviously, we've talked about how there are flaws with that stat, but he was +5 in this game, and the only one outside of that had a plus that was in a positive was Lamont Butler, which is very, very surprising, +1 in this game.
For someone like Amari, he's playing less than 25 minutes a game. There's no reason that a guy like that can't have his motor going at all times. And, I looked right at you. There was multiple times in the second half where just guys are driving to the lane and he's just not making an effort to get in there and block it. And he's a very capable shot blocker. That's what's so frustrating about it. You saw it. He still had 2 blocks. He's a good shot blocker. We've seen it. It's not like he was in foul trouble and he had to, step off and not go be aggressive. But, I could get it if the guy was out there playing, 34, 35 minutes a game and there's times where you just take a play off. But, when you're splitting your minutes as a big and you're averaging less than 25 minutes, there's no reason you're not giving a full effort when you're out there. And, to your point, there was a lot of guys that didn't on Saturday and, they all deserve equal amounts of blame. We've seen it, I think, a little more with Amari, especially in the non-conference. But, yeah, when you're not playing, in a certain amount of minutes, I just don't see a reason to take so many. I'm not saying he necessarily purposefully takes plays off, but that's the vibe it gives.
Yeah, and I can see where that comes from. Just game in, game out. I also do feel like he is one of the only guys that are consistently down low. Which, granted, it's his job. He is the 5, and he's supposed to be down there. But I mean, there are plays where, I pointed out to you multiple times the game on Saturday. It's 1-on-3 down there. Amari's got a guy boxed out perfectly on his end, and he's just not able to get to the ball because it takes the carom to the other side. And most Kentucky fans are pointing at Amari hey, man, you're the 7-footer. You got to get that rebound. But we have to have other guys that are willing to go out and box out. Ortega in this game had 12 rebounds and was very good on the glass. Ortega doesn't box out. He tries to out-athlete you, which right now is working for him. He's been able to get rebounds at a very high clip, especially as of late. But it can't just be Amari Williams, and if he doesn't get the rebound, we don't get it. And I feel like that's kind of what we've been trickling to as of late. So when he doesn't get a rebound, everybody just wants to point and say it's an effort play.
The rebounding effort was summed up by one play, and that's at the end of the game when we got 4 guys standing on the free throw line, and all they have is a free throw shooter, and that guy ends up with the ball, and luckily he fell out of bounds before he calls timeout. But that sums it up right there. That should never happen. That's basketball 101. That's stuff you learn in the Pee Wee level. That's got to be better. But yeah, that I thought just summed up the effort of the entire day from the whole team.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody spaced out for times in this game. Felt like there was
Yep.
nobody who was consistently locked in throughout the game.
Yep.
Ortega probably played the best out of anybody on this team, and that was his fault that you're talking about right there. That was the only guy he had to box out in that instance. Lets him go free. I'm not even sure what they went to the review monitor for. I mean, we were talking about that. I'm so confused on what they were going to
I didn't
monitor.
think it was very close.
Yeah, they're over there talking about, oh, he got 2 feet in, clear possession, made a football move. I'm not sure what was going on. It wasn't making much sense. But yeah, let's dive into Ortega a little bit more here. 21 points in this game, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. Did have 4 turnovers, and a good amount of them were very costly in this game.
Yeah.
Was, let's see, 0 for 3 from 3 and 8 of 14 from the field. I thought Ortega played a very good game in this game. I actually liked how he was running the point in some of this game. Obviously, he did have some turnovers in there that were crucial. The only part about Ortega's game that I did not like, I don't want Otega Owe shooting pull-up threes. He's probably the second to last guy on this team that I want shooting a pull-up contested three. It's not his game, and he's one of the last guys on this team that I want to be doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind it. I mean, he took 3 of them. You know, I know that there was the one in the second half that he kind of pulled up a little early in the shot clock, but I mean, I'm not saying he played great by any means. To your point, you know, he made some mistakes even with 12 rebounds, you know, on the defensive side, giving up some offensive boards. But I mean, good Lord, if it wasn't for him, this game may not even been close. I mean, you know, we scored 68, and he had 21 of them. It felt like just another night where he's the only guy that can really get you a bucket when you needed it. And you know, I think that's the bigger issue with this team. And you know, him going 0 for 3 from the 3-point line is like, there's just times, and there's just been games this year where we don't feel like we have another option. Like, and especially with Andrew Carr out, we've seen him at times, you know, not consistently, but at times in close games be able to get the ball down low and make a move. But like without him, it was just Ortega go at him, or you hope maybe Jackson Robinson will shoot a 3, but like that was it.
Completely agree with you, especially, I mean, Lamont's ability to get to the rim, he has a good ability to do that, and we'll kind of transition to him here soon. I mean, he smoked another layup in this game. He turns the ball over consistently when he is down in the paint. So it's almost like, yeah, I love when he gets down there, but he can't finish and or make a pass to be able to facilitate anybody in there getting an easy bucket either. So it's almost to a detriment. But yes, right now Ortega is the only guy that you can consistently hand the ball to, and you know you're at least getting a capable shot and making it on his own. Because right now, really the only value scorer that you're getting is probably Ansley Almanor. We all know that Ansley's got to be able to get his shots in the flow of the offense. Can't really make them on his own. Yeah,
he's not a guy that's going to go out there and create his own offense. But yeah, I mean, if you want, we can transition over to Lamont. I think it's clear that he's not 100% healthy, and you know, again, obviously he's out tomorrow, but like this is a completely different guy from really the second half of A&M and on. And I mean, even to your point about like since the Louisville game, I mean, he missed the 2 games before that, comes back and plays great, so maybe we all think he's, you know, fully healthy and ready to go, but like I feel like that shoulder has got to be a lot worse than kind of we realized, because like the guy doesn't even look like he can dribble anymore. Like at times, there were a couple times, you know, I saw people go back and show highlights of it. I didn't catch it live, but you know, he's trying to make a play with his left hand, you know, swipe at a ball, and he's like holding it out for a few seconds afterwards and like massaging his shoulder. So, I mean, I think it's obviously clearly bothering him. It's got to bother him when he tries to shoot, but I mean, if that's the kind of Lamont you're going to get, I'm kind of happy they're sitting him out and letting him try to get healthy, because like right now he's not really giving you anything, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we'll kind of talk about the Lamont injury and how it affects the Tennessee game coming up here soon. But yeah, I mean, this game, I mean, he was just, I mean, honestly unplayable. The fact that he played 27 minutes in this game was a little bit of a problem in itself. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 6 turnovers, 2 of 7 shooting, and really just gave you no value on the defensive end either. Had one of those pickbacks that we were talking about, how he, you know, just kind of gives up the lane. had one of them as opposed to 3 or 4, blow-bys that he just allowed. And right now, he's really just giving you no value. He's not a great shooter, regardless. I know previous games he was, kind of tallying up the assists, but didn't offer you that in this game. And right now, I mean, not even the handles aren't even there. Like, I don't trust him to get the ball up half court, and especially against a Tennessee team who just allowed only 53 points to, number 1 Auburn. I don't know who's going to be bringing up the ball for us on Tuesday. It's going to be tough. But I don't know if Lamont can be that guy with how he's playing. And again, we obviously don't know the severity of his injury. He's been missing some time, coming in on the injury report regardless, being probable or questionable, and still playing most of those games. So I don't want to just, rail against the kid and talk about how bad he's been because, there might be something to that shoulder injury. But that guy ends up more on the floor than than an NFL running back. I don't get how it works sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, injuries are going to be an issue. I don't know. It's, I guess, going to look a lot like that Gonzaga game, how you run point. But, unlike Gonzaga, you're probably not going to have Andrew Carr to throw the ball into to go get buckets when you need it either. So, tomorrow night's going to be rough. But, yeah, we hit it. I don't want to crush the guy because, again, I just don't think he's healthy. And that's what I'm going to kind of hold on to, and because it's just not the same guy we saw earlier in the year. It's not the same guy we saw at San Diego State over the last 3 games. So I'm chalking it up to he's just not healthy. Now, hopefully it's not something that lingers all year and they can rest him for a week or 2 and he can come back and be better. But yeah, hopefully it's not something that requires surgery, or we hear about it in the off season. He's getting surgery and he tries to play through it, and we continue to kind of see what we've seen over these last few games.
Yeah, let's hope all is good with Lamont and that he can, I was hoping, with that only 1 game in 1 week, that was going to be, him trending towards being a little bit healthier. Obviously, still really no update on Kerr. He's going to be out for still a while. And with Andrew Carr out, we're really starting to run thin. You started to see some of those lineups in this game. Let's just go ahead and transfer over to somebody who's going to have to run a little bit of the point on Tuesday. Jackson Robinson, I thought, was okay in this game.
Yeah.
11 points, 3 rebounds, 4 of 8 from the field, and 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. My biggest problem with Jackson Robinson is it seems like if he's not the focal point of the offense, he's just not giving you full effort on the defensive side of the ball. And he's giving you nothing outside of just pure scoring. And when you're only scoring 11 points per game, I think you do have to be able to offer something else, either on the defensive end, getting assists, or getting more rebounds. Jackson is 6'6", almost 6'7". I think he's got to be able to give you more than 3 rebounds, and this is a good rebounding game for him as opposed to the entire season.
Yeah, I thought the first sentence you said is the perfect way to describe Jackson Robinson on Saturday. He was okay. 3 of 5 from 3, shot 3 of those in the first half. When you mentioned spaced out at times, he's the first guy I kind of think of, there just wasn't a lot there. And I actually thought he got off to a pretty solid start, made 2 big threes in the first half. It felt like the one, I mentioned got us to 22 at 9-minute mark, and then we didn't really score again. But, I thought it would be kind of a Jackson Robinson game the way he kind of came out and started. And then in the second half, he just looked pretty uninterested, I felt like. He's a guy that, when this team's struggling so much offensively, I wouldn't mind him trying to create his own shot. I know he took the long 2 there at the end of the game, but, even a couple times before that, I wouldn't mind him trying to just take his man one-on-one or, get to a spot and take a, contested 3 if you want to call it that. But just there needs to be some absurdness when the offense can't get going, and, it feels like he pulls long, he calls his own number at the weird times. And Saturday would have been a time I wouldn't have mind if he took 2 or 3 quote unquote bad shots just to try to get something going, and he just never really seemed interested.
Yeah, well, if we can't get him interested for this game in Knoxville on Tuesday with no Lamont, no Carr, and no Kerr, this is him and Ortega. They're going to have to be the driving forces on offense for this team, and obviously somebody we're going to have to see a lot of in this game, or at least a lot more than we're used to. Travis Perry. In this game, it's only out there for 6 minutes, 0 for 1 from 3. and 1 assist. Really, no stats other than that. I need to see Travis get a little more confidence on the offensive side of the ball. I really thought when he had that rebound, put back three, I thought that would be kind of like his spring bolt and to be able to him, feeling confident to release it from three. Because right now, I'm not sure what he's shooting on the 4-3 on the year. I'd have to look it up. But it just doesn't feel like he's nearly confident as he should be for a guy who all off season we were hearing about how he just doesn't miss from three.
I think he's had obviously some good moments this year. Saturday just wasn't one of those, and I think that's what you're going to get with a true freshman that's playing backup point guard. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's obviously a little different going on the road, tough environment versus playing in Rupp Arena where they get to shoot every single day with the entire arena going silent when you pull it, holding their breath. So, but yeah, I thought this was a game he wasn't ready for. I know we're going to get into Colin Chandler. He's been as surprising as any of these guys. I thought he would be the freshman that was most ready this year, and he's not ready, and he doesn't look like he's going to be ready anytime soon. But yeah, Travis. I mean, he just is what he is. He's going to be a inconsistent freshman, and with Lamont out, you're going to hope that he can go do it in Knoxville. I don't know how much of a winning strategy that is, but I mean, at this point, you don't have any other option.
You really just have no other choice because,
Yeah.
like you said, we've seen how Collins played. That 2 years off for the Mormon mission, I mean, man, it's showing big dividends. He's just nowhere near the player that, had that 4-star rating coming out of high school. Hopefully, full off season of playing basketball again will get him ready next year. But right now, he's just unplayable. We'll go ahead and talk about him a little bit more. I mean, three minutes in this game, 0 for 1, 1 turnover, and really was just horrendous on the defensive side of the ball. Got beat on a back cut again, which I told you. If I knew he was getting minutes in a game and there was a prop bet out there for somebody to get beat on a back cut,
you did.
I'm putting the house on Colin Chandler.
I mean, I don't want to spend, too much time talking about a kid that only played 3 minutes. He obviously, wasn't good. I would say, and I know this might upset some people because it's like you can't say anything wrong about anybody ever, but I thought this was Pope's worst game as coach. There were the lineup, especially in the first half, I get it. You're not really getting energy out of these guys, but there's a time where you had Trent Noah, Kobe Brea, and Colin Chandler all on the floor. Who are those guys guarding? Because there's not 3 guys
in the floor in that group as well.
So. Yeah, what is that team going to try to do defensively? And then as well as I thought Trent Noah played, and I thought he played really well being a true freshman, getting thrown into that game. Pope has him in there in the last 2 minutes on the most important defensive possessions. So, I thought it was Pope's worst game. At the end of the day, it's one game, and Pope's been phenomenal. But this one, I was pretty frustrated with some of the lineups, and then to the point of having Trent Noah out there late.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Trent Noah played really well in this game. It's just you don't want to see him when you need a defensive stop in the last 2 minutes of a game. Obviously, they went right after him when they saw that he was in there. That was the bucket that kind of put the icing on the cake for this game. So, I mean, looks like Pope was trying something. I was a little critical of him after the Alabama game. Looks like, probably 2 of his worst games. Obviously, we're still very early in the year, and we just played, Bama, Nate Oates, which is a very good team, and now Vandy being ranked in the top 25. But like I said, there's no participation trophies in this SEC, man. There are 10 ranked teams in the top 25. So we're just going to have to find ways to win some of these close games. 2 of the last guys we haven't talked about in this game, and one that, we just got to get more from, especially, since the Florida game, he's really just kind of been, he just hasn't been here. It's Kobe Brea, 22 minutes in this game, 1 of 5 from the floor and 1 of 4 from 3-point line. Was able to give you 4 rebounds, so, that was good to see. At least he gave you a little bit of effort there and a steal. But only 3 points. If you're only getting 14 points combined from Jackson Robinson and Kobe Brea, I don't think we're winning many games.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Again, all of our losses, this team hasn't scored 70 points. And I think you could probably go through and pinpoint to the point that it's Jackson Robinson and Kobe Brea don't really give you anything. You don't have one of those guys go make 4 or 5 threes. I don't know what the stats are on that. I could probably go back and look, but I'm going to venture to say, like, those are the games that those guys probably played the worst. I don't know what's going on with Kobe. I mean, the guy's obviously still a really good shooter. I'm not saying he's not. But yeah, I mean, at some point you got to start hitting them, right? And since that Florida game, he's been cold. I'm kind of surprised he had 4 rebounds because on Saturday he was one of the guys I felt like at times wasn't giving you a ton of effort. We've seen it a couple times this year. Was it the A&M game where he just simply did not dive on the ball? So he's got to give you effort out there when he's not making the shots. And I mean, I know he had 4 rebounds, but I still don't feel like he gave you a ton on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's crazy we're saying all of this, and he's still shooting 46% from 3. So it kind of just shows you the elite level that he could play at. I mean, he's just got to get more threes up. And like you said, if he's not going to give you that scoring option, him even maybe a little more so than Jackson Robinson, he's got to be that effort guy because he doesn't really have the athleticism to keep up with SEC guards. So he's got to be that effort, 3-point volume shooter. Because I'm at the point now where I've got to see him and Ansley get up 5+ threes, each one of them, every game. I don't care how they come up because they're both shooting over 40%. And we got to start shooting more threes because, like you said, in 4 of our 5 losses, we scored under 70 points. The only exception to that being the Alabama game. This defense is just nowhere near good enough to be able to score under 70 and win a game.
Oh, no, absolutely. But to that point, like, the team, I agree with you. The team as a whole's got to shoot more threes. Like, only 23 threes is not going to cut it. And, like, the way that the pace kind of started in that game, there's no reason we're only getting off 23 attempts. If you look at it, Vandy made 3 more and shot 10 more. So if Kentucky shoots another 10 and makes, let's just say another 3 and goes 11 of, or excuse me, if they match it at 12 of 33, shoot the exact same percentage, exact same number as Vandy, it's a 9-point difference. We're probably winning the game, even scoring, 75. They didn't get the attempts up. And for Pope, when he first gets here and he's talking about how we want to shoot near 30, and like there's so many games this year where we've shot under 25 attempts, like those numbers got to get bumped up. I don't understand what the issue is, especially in this offense where it feels like everything's kind of centered around trying to get open threes. And part of it is there's times guys just don't shoot it, but there's also, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, especially lately. I mean, we've been shooting a good percentage from 3. We shot over 40% against Alabama. In this game, we shot 39%. So, I mean, we're starting to shoot it well from 3. Just got to get that volume up, especially like Kobe, Jackson, and Ansley they've got to be the guys that shoot the bulk of those 3-pointers. Again, if Ortega's open, go ahead and take it. I don't want him shooting pull-ups. I don't know how much more I can emphasize that throughout the rest of the season. But last guy we haven't mentioned so far, Brandon Garrison. After having what was one of his better games, I thought, against Alabama, I thought he was pretty poor in this game. 8 points, 4 of 7 shooting. Did give you 5 rebounds in 18 minutes, but had 4 turnovers and no assists. Felt like this was the first game we really started to see the offense try to run through Brandon Garrison a little bit more. Seems like he kind of crumbled a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if that was more so designed because, Andrew Carr was out. I'm going to assume it was. But yeah, I don't love it. It's one thing to have Amari do it. I just don't see BG being the level of passer as Amari, even though at times he's put up, solid stat lines from that category. I mean, just nobody could take care of the ball, it felt like, and he was one of those guys with 4 turnovers. And again, there were some times in the first half especially I didn't feel like his effort was there. And it's so crazy to be talking about a game January 25th or whatever it is, and we're just talking about simple things like effort for an SEC game. But I mean, I truly believe that's what the whole game came down to. And I didn't think it was one of BG's better games, and I didn't think it was one of his better efforts.
The most concerning part about what you're saying there is that we had a full week off and a full week to prepare for Vanderbilt. And we have an old team. This isn't, you don't get the excuse of this is a bunch of young guys that, don't know that they got to be ready game in and game out. I mean, this is an old team. I mean, half the guys on this team are 22, 23, some even 24 years old. I mean, we have to be able to give consistent effort, especially. I mean, these are grown men at this point. These aren't kids. These aren't, I mean, you can call them young adults if you want. But, I mean, we got to be able to expect consistent effort because, you know, like Ortega's mentioned in a loss, I mean, we are everybody's Super Bowl. You saw Vandy storm the court. I mean, we were ranked 9th, and they still stormed the court on us. So, I mean, just kind of show you we have to have that effort game in and game out, especially against the rivalry game in Tennessee on Tuesday because, you know, there's no love lost between Kentucky and Tennessee.
No. And, like, you can make the argument, you know, for Lamont, like, maybe he didn't look like he was giving it his all because he's banged up. Like, not every guy on the team gets to make that excuse, right? And when you got, you know, whatever, we had, 12 guys play on Saturday, 11 guys, like, when 9 of the 11 or whatever aren't giving you a consistent effort, like, that's an issue, and you're not going to win many games with that going on.
Yeah, especially lack of effort and 17 turnovers. I don't know how many games you're winning in this SEC, especially with the strength that it has this year.
And I don't want to, you know, keep harping on him, but, like, what in the hell was Lamont Butler doing on that one where he's just trying to force the ball to Amari Williams? It got knocked away and he got it back and regathered, and instead of just running different offense, goes right back to trying to force it, and then it's a breakaway the other way because he turns it over. Like, realistically, that was like almost 2 turnovers in one, and yeah, I don't know. It was brutal to watch.
I think we want Lamont's my take on Lamont at this point in time. I'm trying to get a little conservative.
I'm gonna hold out for I'm gonna assume he's hurt. But I do want to say, thank God we were at the bar to watch it, and I wasn't at home, and we were at a bar, and we got there an hour and a half early or whatever, and we're able to have some drinks, because, I mean, that was as miserable a performance to watch as I remember in recent years.
Yeah, especially the first half. I mean, that first half was just brutal to watch. So hopefully, you know,
one field goal over the last 9 minutes.
Huge test in Knoxville. I mean, Tennessee's best defensive team in the country. And after seeing us only put up 69 points against Vandy and turn the ball over a lot, I'm extremely worried about facing Tennessee, who's 17-3, 4-3 on the conference, and some of their losses that are coming as of late are only 2 points against Auburn, lost to Vandy by a point. And I mean, some of these games, like they lost to Auburn by 2, and they shot 34% from the field. Yeah. So, I mean, at some point, they're probably going to be able to get going from, you would think, offensively. And with how bad we are defensively, it might be that game. What are you looking forward to in this Tennessee game or looking forward to seeing?
I don't know if I'm looking forward to any of it. I mean, even if this team is fully healthy and you have 100% Lamont Butler and 100% Andrew Carr, there's not a team we match up worse than Tennessee. I think in my season preview, I might have picked 2 losses to Tennessee. I know I definitely picked a loss in Knoxville. But there's just not a team that's worsely designed for Kentucky to match up than Tennessee. And you're going into that without being 100%. You're nowhere near 100%. You're, really banged up. I don't foresee good things coming out of tomorrow. Now, again, this team has surprised us multiple times. Big wins on the road that we didn't expect, Mississippi State and Gonzaga. So, maybe they rally and go out and you get a really good performance from Jackson or something and you win. The thing is, though, like, the one glimmer of hope is if you can find a way to score, 80, you're winning this game. Tennessee's not a team that's got the offense to where you got to be in the 90s. Like, when you're playing Alabama or Florida, you got to be near 100. Like, I think if you get in the 80s, I don't think Tennessee can get there. So if this team can just come out and shoot the lights out, you got a chance.
Yeah, I genuinely think if you get in the high 70s, you've got a really good chance of winning this game as well. I mean, Tennessee, their schedule that they've played so far this year has been incredible, and some of their wins that they've had so far this year have been really good. But in some of their losses that they've had, like they obviously lost to Florida by 30, lost to Vanderbilt like we just did, and lost to Auburn by 2. They're scoring 75 points a game, which is obviously 13 points lower a game than we are, but they're only giving up 58 a game. Man, I'm just honestly not looking forward to watching this game. I can't imagine how we're going to handle this pressure. We just turned it over 17 times against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's not known as a defensive powerhouse like Tennessee is.
Yeah. I mean, the recipe is just you're going to have to get one of those performances from Jackson Robinson or something, right? Like that's the only path I see to win. You're going to have to get a game where, Jackson and Ortega combine for, 40 something points, and as a team you score, high 70s, low 80s, and you can win. So, I mean, there's a path there. I just don't. Do I think it's likely? Probably not. I don't, to your point, know how you're going to protect the ball and manage, getting the ball across half court and all that against a team that is allowing 50 something points a game. I don't really see it.
Yeah, I generally think in this game, between the three of them, Kobe, Jackson, and Ansley, I think you got to see them score 45 points together between the three of them, and just let Ortega do what he has been doing. He is that consistent guy. I don't want to put any more pressure on his plate because I need him to be a little bit better of a defender than he has of late. I want to see him put some of that effort on the defensive side of the ball, especially in this one. It's going to be kind of that rock fight that we really haven't played well so far in this season. But I think you need a big game from the guys that we were talking about, Jackson Robinson and Kobe Brea especially. I think you've got to get a big game from both of those two to be able to win this game. I don't know about you. I think you alluded to it a little bit earlier. I'm going to pick a loss in this game as well. If you're going to give me your score prediction, I'm going to give you your credit. You picked Vandy's number
I
perfectly
had it
right.
dead on.
You just didn't have the Cats number.
I only missed the Cats by like almost 30. So.
Yeah, so I'll give you your credit on that one. You did have their point total right. Go ahead and hit me with your prediction for Kentucky Tennessee Tuesday night.
Yeah, I'm gonna hope they surprise us and we do one of these ones where we all pick losses and they come out and shock us. I'll say Tennessee 70 on the number and Cats 65. So close one, but just we can't find the offense. Real quick though, I do want to mention like this is another guy that's gonna have a big and better game. We're gonna need to see the good effort from Amari. He's gonna have to rebound. He's gonna have to help when Ziegler beats whoever off the dribble. Like this is gonna have to be an Amari game.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I think this is going to have to be a game from everyone. I don't think they're just like I think I've already mentioned three guys plus Ortega doing his normal good game. You're bringing in Amari. I mean, we really just need everybody to step up in this game.
True.
Three guys are going to be out from injury. Everybody's just going to have to step up to be able to win this game. Obviously, we've done well in these top 10 matchups so far this year. Hopefully, we can kind of continue that. I'm going to be picking a loss in this game. I got Tennessee 74. Kentucky only musters up 62. I think we do find our second double-digit loss of the season in this one. But, I mean, hopefully I'm wrong. Say if I have to pick an MVP for this game, if Kentucky's going to win this game, I think it's got to be Kobe Brea. I think he's just going to have to give you some points like in that Florida game. Him or Jackson Robinson, they have to and score a good amount of points in this one to win.
I'll go Jackson because, like I said, I think that's the only way we win is to your point. Him or Kobe go off and score 20 something and make 5 or 6 threes. I think that's the only path.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is obviously the most negative we've been going into a game
That's true.
So far this season. So hopefully, so far this year, that means we're going to be dead wrong. Hopefully that is the case, and the Cats are able to get a win against Tennessee in Knoxville, because don't want to go on a 3-game losing streak with the used car salesman coming into town on Saturday.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, even if we come out and lose by 40 tomorrow, I'm still not worried about Saturday. I'll still think.
No, if we lose by 40, we're getting panic buttons. Maybe not for the game.
I don't know. As bad as our panic is, I don't think it's anywhere like it is in Fayetteville. They've had that button out and they've been smashing it for 3 weeks now.
I do want to go for it.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I do want to talk real quick before we get out of here. So we got what? Cats have 12 games left. What do you see our record being over the last 12? Kind of early SEC re-prediction. I think I had 11-7 in the conference. You had 12-6 before the season. Where do you think we kind of finish now?
I mean, just going through the games at Tennessee, I feel like that's a loss. I think they beat Arkansas, so there's 1-1. I think they'll lose at Ole Miss. There's 1-2. South Carolina, they even up at 2-2. I think they're able to take the game at home against Tennessee, get to 3-2. I think they'll beat Texas on the road, and then they'll beat Vanderbilt at home. So that's what 5-2 there. We get at Alabama. I think that's a loss. 5-3. At Oklahoma, I think we find a way to win that one. So you're looking at 6-3. Lose to Auburn, 6-4. Beat LSU, 7-4. So I see, and then lose to Missouri to end the year. So I think 7-5 in the last 12. Which if I can sign up for that right now, I'll sign up for it.
That's what I was about to say. I was hovering back and forth between an even 6-6 split and 7-5. I think if you tell me right now, tomorrow, I can get 7-5, I would sign on the dotted line and be 21 and what would you be 21-10 at that point? I think you take it. Yeah, I don't know which games they get or drop. I didn't go that into it, but yeah, I think 7-5 is kind of what we can hope for out of this team going forward. And you're probably gonna, be playing on Thursday in the SEC tournament. It's not gonna get you a top 4 seed in the SEC, but I kind of think that's just where this team's at right now. I mean, right now we're 10th in the SEC before we even play tomorrow. Like, it's not ideal.
I mean, just going 7-5 would have to include 2 to 3 ranked wins, some of them on the road, some of them at home. I just think you're going to have to take care of those home games. Obviously, we wanted to take care of that Bama game at home. You're just going to have to find a way to win those games at home and then, maybe steal a couple on the road. It's really what you're looking for in this SEC. And hopefully, man, we just get hot and healthy, getting into March. Hopefully, obviously it's not looking well now, but get that bye in the SEC tournament, maybe get everybody a little bit healthier, even though it's not looking great now.
That's the problem, like with how difficult the SEC is. There's not really a stretch where you can be like, we just got to tread water. Like every game's so tough and so physical and, so many good teams. You lose Lamont Butler and Andrew Carr for 3 weeks. I mean, you could go like 1-5 in the blink of an eye. So, yeah. Hopefully those guys get back sooner rather than later, and some guys are going to have to step up while they're out.
Yeah, and I mean, really, probably the easiest stretch of basketball we'll have is going to be those last 2 games at the end of the year. Yeah. And even that would include a win against Missouri, who's ranked right now.
Playing well.
So, I mean, like I said, no nights off in the SEC. Cats are obviously taking on the Smoky Dogs, whatever you want to call them. Whatever you want to call them. I hate that team. I hate Tennessee basketball almost as much as Tennessee football. I think football maybe outranks them just a little bit. But Kentucky all-time in this series is 161-78. So we all know who Big Brother is in basketball, obviously. Let's go down to Knoxville, take care of business. Hopefully we're both wrong, but our MVP are both right.
Yeah, maybe we just get Jackson Robinson to have his Jody Meeks kind of night, and we get 54 out of Jackson, and we'll just
I don't know
if
anybody on this team that's going to be able to knock down 54, but
I mean, hey, I don't know. I'm not saying it'll happen, but Jackson goes out and just makes like 15 threes. Goes 15 of 20 from behind the arc. Sign me up.
Well, sign me up. I think if he does that, I think we can confidently say we win this game. So hopefully that's right. Keep along with us. Obviously, we'll come out with the post game of this game, and then obviously we've got a huge matchup on Saturday. Might be in attendance for that game. I don't know, man. These tickets are really expensive and hard to get. But if we can get them, we'll be down there. Follow us on TikTok, X, Instagram. We're everywhere. Get the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're everywhere. We're up to 4 different countries where we've been listened to and streamed now. So we're going a little bit more global than we already were.
I thought we were just gonna have to get those numbers up when I take my cruise. I'd be like, well, I listened in Mexico, Bahamas.
Go for it. We can use all the help we can get. With that being said, go Big Blue. Let's beat Tennessee on Tuesday.
Go Big Blue.